and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and today we're back in the nonfiction section. We are in the 500s of the Dewey Decimal System, which is the natural science and mathematics section.
So, the physics of everyday things, which I think is science and math. While many take modern conveniences for granted, this book is for those who are curious about how things work. Those who might wonder what is the science behind touchscreens and toasters. How do we glide through tolls with an easy pass or find our way using GPS? In the physics of everyday things, the author, James Kakalios, breaks down the world of things we encounter in everyday life, how refrigerators keep food cool, and how planes stay in the air. With each explanation, there's a story revealing the interplay of the astonishing invisible forces that surround us. This book demonstrates that sophisticated science is always quite practical. James Kakalios is a professor of physics at the University of Minnesota. He also has another book that was on the bestseller list. It was called The Physics of Superheroes, so it kind of broke down what they do. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Physics of everyday things.
And my first pick today is The Sky Atlas by Edward Brooke Hitching. This was published in 2019, and this is in the astronomy section of that 500 section. So after the enormous international success of the Phantom Atlas and the Golden Atlas, this author's stunning new book unveils some of the most beautiful maps and charts ever created during mankind's quest to map the skies above us. This richly illustrated treasury showcases the finest examples of celestial cartography, a glorious genre of map making often overlooked by modern map books, as well as medieval manuscripts, masterpiece paintings, ancient star catalogs, antique instruments, and other appealing curiosities. This is the sky as it has never been presented before, the realm of stars and planets, but also gods, devils, weather wizards, flying sailors, medieval aliens, mythological animals, and rampaging spirits. The reader is taken on a tour of a star-obsessed cultures around the world, learning about Tibetan sky burials, Mongolian astral prophets, and Sir William Herschel's 1781 discovery of Uranus, the first planet to be found since antiquity. So this is kind of a cool book about different things about the sky.
The cover art is gorgeous on that, too.
Yeah, he's got some beautiful, like the illustrations in this are very pretty for all his maps and stuff that he's included. So
cool. So there's a section of the 500s that seem to predict the end of the world, and this is one of them. The Water Will Come by Jeff Goodell. What if Atlantis wasn't a myth, but an early precursor to a new age of great flooding? Across the globe, scientists and civilians alike are noticing rapidly rising sea levels and higher tides pushing more water directly into places we live, from our most vibrant historic cities to our last remaining traditional coastal villages. With each crack in the great ice sheets of the Arctic and Antarctica, and each tick upwards of Earth's thermometer, we are moving closer to the brink of disaster. By century's end, hundreds of millions of people will be retreating from the world's shores as our coasts become inundated and our landscapes transformed. From island nations to the world's major cities, coastal regions will disappear. Engineering projects to hold back the water are bold and may buy some time. Yet despite international efforts and tireless research, there is no permanent solution, no barriers to erect or walls to build that will protect us in the end from the drowning of the world as we knew it. The Water Will Come is a definitive account of the coming water, why and how this will happen, and what it will all mean. As he travels across 12 countries and reports from the front lines, acclaimed journalist Jeff Goodell employs facts, science, and first-person on-the-ground journalism to show vivid scenes of what is already becoming a water world. So this was published in 2017, and I swear there have been like flooding since then, so who knows, could be true.
yeah. My second pick is The Siren of Mars by Sarah Stewart Johnson. This was published in 2020. This book is in our new collection right now, and then it'll be later found in the 500s in the Life Sciences section. So in The Sirens of Mars, a young planetary scientist intimately details the search for life on Mars, tracing our century-old obsession with this seemingly desolate planet. Mars was once similar to Earth, but today there are no rivers, no lakes, no oceans. Goes along with all this water stock. Coated in red dust, the terrain is bewilderingly empty. And yet multiple spacecraft are circling Mars on the brink perhaps of a staggering find, one that would inspire humankind as much as any discovery in the history of modern science. This author's fascination with Mars began as a child in Kentucky, turning over rocks with her father and looking at planets in the night sky. She now conducts field work in some of Earth's most hostile environments, such as the dry valleys of Antarctica and the salt flats of Western Australia, developing methods for detecting life on other worlds. So here, with poetic precision, she interlaces her own personal journey as a female scientist and a mother with tales of other seekers who tried to carry out astronomical observations from a stratospheric balloon. In the process, she shows how the story of Mars is also a story about Earth. This other world has been our mirror, our foil, our telltale reflection of our own anxieties and yearnings. Sounded interesting to me, the Sirens of Mars.
Mars is one of those planets that you think about a lot because it's so close. Why Dinosaurs Matter by Kenneth Lacovara. What can long-dead dinosaurs teach us about our future? Plenty, according to paleontologist Kenneth Lacovara, who has discovered some of the largest creatures ever to walk the earth. By tapping into the ubiquitous wonder of dinosaurs inspire, Lacovara weaves together the stories of our geological awakening, of humans' epic struggle to understand the nature of deep time, the meaning of fossils, and our own place in the vast and bountiful tree of life. Go on a journey back when dinosaurs ruled the earth to discover how dinosaurs achieved feats unparalleled by any other group of animals. Learn the secrets of how paleontologists find fossils and explore quirky but profound questions such as, is a penguin a dinosaur? And how are the tiny arms of the T-Rex the key to its power and ferocity? In this revealing book, Lacovara offers the latest ideas about the shocking and calamitous death of the dinosaurs and ties their vulnerabilities to our own. Why Dinosaurs Matter is compelling and engaging, a great reminder that our place on this planet is both precarious and potentially fleeting. As we move into uncertain environmental future, it has never been more important than to understand the past. So, why Dinosaurs Matter?
My third pick for today is The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by Dan Egan. This was published in 2018. This is prize-winning reporter Dan Egan's compulsively readable portrait of an ecological catastrophe happening right before our eyes, blending the epic story of the Great Lakes with an examination of the perils they face and the ways we can restore and preserve them for generations to come. The Great Lakes hold 20% of the world's supply of fresh water, provide sustenance, work, recreation for tens of millions of Americans, but they are under threat as never before, and their problems are spreading across the continent. For thousands of years, the pristine Great Lakes were separated from the Atlantic Ocean by the roaring Niagara Falls and from the Mississippi River Basin by a subcontinental divide. Beginning in the late 1800s, these barriers were circumvented to attract ocean-going freighters from the Atlantic and to allow Chicago's sewage to flow out to the Mississippi. These were engineering marvels in their time, and the changes in Chicago arrested a deadly cycle of waterborne illnesses, but they have had horrendous unforeseen consequences. This book gives a chilling account of how sea lamprey, zebra, and other invaders have made their way into the lakes, decimating native species and largely destroying the age-old ecosystem. In an age where dire problems like the Flint water crisis, which Jill talked about a couple weeks ago, or the California drought, bring even more attention to the indispensability of safe, clean, easily available water for all, this book provides an urgent exam of what threatens our water and the relatively simple things we need to do to protect it.
A lot of doom and gloom in the 500s.
I know. I feel like we're kind of like, da-da-da.
There's good stuff, too. Goldilocks and the Water Bears. This is the Search for Life in the Universe by Louisa Preston. Astrobiology is the study of life in the universe from its origins to its evolution into intelligent sentient beings. All life as we know it is carbon-based, reliant on sources of liquid water and energy for its survival, and as far as we are aware, exists only on Earth. Our planet occupies a unique spot in the solar system. It's just the right distance from the sun within the so-called Goldilocks zone. Not to be too hot, not to be too cold for liquid water to be stable on surface, which, together with a protective shielding atmosphere, allowed the 4 billion year journey from single-cell organism to an upright humanoid species. Most of primordial life, if seen today, would be classified as alien, as it bears little resemblance to anything that currently exists. We can learn so much about the possibilities of extraterrestrial life by studying life forms from our planet's history and by exploring organisms that still present in harsh environments on Earth that mimic those in other worlds. These organisms, called extremophiles, are directing our search for alien life through our solar system and beyond. Could we one day find Earth's toughest animal or the microscopic water bear living under the surface of another world? Goldilocks and the Water Bears is an accessible introduction to the most fascinating of all astrosciences, the quest to learn whether we are alone in the universe. So,
My fourth pick today is Monarchs and Milkweed by Anurag Agrawal, published in 2017. This would be in the zoological sciences section of those 500s. Monarch butterflies are one of the most recognizable creatures, known for their bright colors and epic annual migration from the United States and Canada down to Mexico. Yet there is much more to the monarch than its distinctive presence and mythic journeying. The monarch life cycle begins each spring when it deposits eggs on milkweed leaves. But this dependency of monarchs on milkweeds as food is not reciprocated, and milkweeds do all they can to poison or thwart the young monarchs. The author presents current ideas regarding the recent decline in our monarch populations, including habitat destruction, increased winter storms, and a lack of milkweed, the last one a theory that the author rejects. He evaluates the current sustainability of monarchs and reveals a novel explanation for their plummeting numbers. It's lavishly illustrated with more than 80 color photos and images. Monarchs and Milkweed takes the readers on an unforgettable exploration of one of nature's most important and sophisticated evolutionary relationships. So this also has beautiful illustration. It gives you like the life cycle of the monarch butterfly. So it sounded interesting to me, and we were just talking about monarchs and milkweeds this morning.
I grow milkweed too, so what is it doing?
Do you attract a lot of monarch butterflies?
I don't see them. I see some, but I don't know. I've never really looked for eggs and stuff, but it's there. This is one of my favorite books. The Hidden Life of Trees. What They Feel, How They Communicate by Peter Wallenburn. I think I read this like 3 times. It's really good. In The Hidden Life of Trees, Peter Wallenburn shares a deep love for the woods and forests and explains the amazing processes of life, death, and regeneration he has observed in the woodland and the amazing scientific processes behind the wonders of which are blissfully unaware. Much like human families, tree parents live together with their children, communicate with them, and support them as they grow, sharing nutrients with those who are sick or struggling, and creating an ecosystem that mitigates the impact of extremes of heat and cold for the whole group. As a result of such interaction, trees in a family or community are protected and can live to be very old. In contrast, solitary trees, like street kids, have a tough time of it, and in most cases die much earlier than those in this group. Drawing on groundbreaking new discoveries, Wallenburn presents the science behind the secret and previously unknown life of trees and their communication abilities. He describes how these discoveries have informed his own practices in the forest around him. And as he says, a happy forest is a healthy forest, and he believes that eco-friendly practices not only are economically sustainable, but also benefit the health of our planet and the mental and physical health of all who live on Earth. So it might make you feel sorry for the trees in your yard because they don't have their parents around. But it's really interesting. Like one thing I remember from this is like stumps. Like they looked at stumps, and I guess there's like still life in stumps when they're just sitting there for like hundreds of years and stuff.
Oh,
so, yeah, trees are very interesting.
If you read it 3 times, I feel like I should check that book out. My last pick is Birding Without Borders, An Obsession, a Quest, and the Biggest Year in the World by Noah Stryker. This was published in 2017. He is an associate editor at Birding Magazine, and he set a lofty goal for himself to become the first person to see half the world's birds in 1 year. For 365 days, with a backpack, binoculars, and a series of one-way tickets, he traveled across 41 countries in all 7 continents, eventually spotting 6,042 species. He aimed for 5,000, by far the biggest birding year on record. The picture in here. This is a picture of the author with all the field guides that he had, and he turned those all into digital files for reference, so he didn't have to pack all those on his journey, but it's as tall or if not just about as tall as he is. So there was no travelogue or a glorified checklist or anything like that. This author ventured deep into the world of blood-sucking leeches, chronic sleep deprivation on this goal, airline snafus, breakdowns, mudslides, floods, war zones, ecologic devastation, conservation triumphs, common and iconic species, and scores of passionate bird lovers that he met around the globe. By pursuing the freest creatures on the planet, he gained a unique perspective on the world they share with us, and he offered a hopeful message that even as many birds face an uncertain future, more people than ever are working to protect these species. So, sounds like kind of a fun book to take a look at. Yeah. The Birding Without Borders.
Well, that's what we have for you this week. We hope that you like and share this video so that more can see our recommendations.
Yes, next week we will be doing LGBTQ books because it's really Pride Week was this month, but we're going to just sneak it in at the end for the last week of the month. So thank you for watching. And as Jill said, like or share our videos. Give us books that you like in these sections. We're always happy to hear from you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.